How to explain SEO to clients. You have just gotten a new client interested in your website design service. One of the services you offer is search engine optimization, or SEO. Unfortunately, your new client does not know anything about SEO. Fortunately, there are multiple ways you can explain SEO to someone, and this article will show you how to do that. Method 1: Getting the basics down. 1. Know your client's expertise on the internet. Before you start explaining SEO to your client, consider how much your client knows about the internet. This will help you determine what tactic you should use when explaining SEO. The last thing you'd want is to confuse your client by using unfamiliar terms, or insult your client by using too simple explanations. For example, if your client is unfamiliar with the internet, including websites, search engines, blogs, links, and so forth, consider using more analogies and comparisons. Terms such as search results and links may confuse your client. If your client is familiar with the internet, he or she may already have an idea of how searching for things on the internet works. Terms such as search results and links will probably get the point across, and you won't have to use as many analogies or comparisons. If your client is very familiar with the internet and how it works, a simple definition might be all it takes to get him or her to understand SEO. 2. Determine your client's learning style. Different people learn things in different ways, so you may have to employ various techniques to get your point across. There are 3 main learning styles: verbal, visual, and physical. You may have to use a combination of 2 or all 3 styles to explain SEO to your client. Some people learn new concepts better through discussing them verbally over the phone or in person. Consider setting up a meeting with your client to discuss SEO with him or her. Some people learn new concepts better through visual means. This could be as simple as sending your client an email with a definition of SEO to as extensive as providing them with a chart or diagram. Some people are physical learners and need something demonstrated for them. Consider drawing a chart when discussing SEO and pointing out parts to the client while speaking. You can also show them how it works physically on a computer. 3. Break down what SEO stands for. If you have a client who is completely new to the concept of SEO, he or she may never have heard of it before and may not know what it stands for. In this case, you will simply have to say, SEO stands for search engine optimization. 4. Explain what SEO does for the client using simple phrases. Your client may not understand the importance of search engine optimization until he or she understands what it does. You may have to explain to your client what SEO does. For example, you could say, SEO helps your website appear on the first few pages of the search results. SEO helps your website appear sooner when someone searches for. You then will list the terms someone might use to find your client's business. SEO makes it easier for people to find your business website. 5. Familiarize yourself with your client's website. Knowing what your client does and what his or her website is about may come in handy for when you have to use analogies, comparisons, or scenarios. Consider using some variation of your client's name, website, or line of business in your analogies, comparisons, or scenarios. Method 2: Breaking SEO into 2 parts. 1. Break SEO down into 2 parts. One of the simplest and easiest ways is to break SEO down into 2 parts, optimization and authority. This method includes a lot of terms such as site and search engine and is best for clients who are already familiar with the internet and how it works. 2. Explain how optimization relates to SEO. Your client needs to understand that optimization allows reputable search engines to read his or her website and then evaluate it. You can say something like this. Optimization allows a search engine to read the content of your website. The search engine will then display your site in the results when someone searches for the keywords that appear on your site. 3. Explain authority and how it relates to SEO. Your client also needs to understand that having authority proves to the search engine that his or her website is the best website. For example, you could say, the more authority your website has, the higher up on the search results it will be. Having your website appear on others will prove to the search engine that your site is better than all others on the same topic. 4. Put it all together. After you have broken down SEO into optimization and authority, you want to repeat all that you have said in a shorter form. SEO is two things: allowing search engines to display your website when people search for it, and convincing search engines to place it before other sites in the results. Method 3: Using the library analogy. 1. Use the library analogy. A great way to help illustrate a certain concept is to use analogies. One popular analogy to explain SEO is the library analogy. Most people are familiar with how libraries work. Children and teenagers often have to use libraries to obtain sources and information for their school projects and reports. 2. Take your client and his or her website into consideration. Using your client and his or her website in your library analogy might help your client make the connections. It will also help keep him or her engaged. 3. Compare your client's website to a book. Compare your client's website to a book on a familiar subject, preferably one that has something to do with his or her website. Try to use a variation of the website's name as the title, and a variation of your client's name as the author. For example, if your client's name is Bob McBob, and Bob's Window Cleaning is the name of his website, use Window Cleaning by Bob Windowman as your fictional book. Window cleaning is something that your client can relate to, which will help keep him engaged. While you are at it, compare your client's competitors' websites to other books in the library on the same topic. So Wendy's Windows could become a book called Wonderfully Clean Windows by Wendy Wonders. 4. Compare finding a website to finding a book. The two ways someone can find your client's website is by either typing the URL into the address bar directly, or by typing in keywords into the search bar of a reputable search engine. Similarly, the two ways someone can find a book in a library is by either finding the book on the shelf, or by typing keywords into the library's computer. For example, Bob McBob specializes in cleaning windows on multi-story buildings. To find his website, someone could go to a reputable search engine, and type in words such as window cleaning and multi-story and the city or suburb that Bob McBob has his business in. Window Cleaning by Bob Windowman happens to have an entire chapter on cleaning windows on multi-story buildings. Someone could find his book by going to the library computer and search the catalog using the terms window cleaning and multi-story or skyscrapers. 5. Compare your client's website to a missing book. If a book is not categorized properly in the library catalog, then no one will be able to find it. Similarly, no one will be able to find your client's website unless it contains the keywords people would most likely type into a search engine while trying to find it. A person searching for Window Cleaning by Bob Windowman won't find the book if the book is not tagged in the library catalog. A person searching for someone to clean his or her windows on a multi-story house won't be able to find Bob McBob's website unless he uses keywords, such as window cleaning and multi-story on his website. 6. Compare links to good book reviews. One of the reasons someone might choose a certain book over another is because it had good reviews. A well-reviewed book might even be displayed at the front section of the library on a shelf titled Goodreads or Top Reviewed. Similarly, the more websites link to your client's site, the more likely a search engine will see it as being reputable and will place it towards the top of the search results. Your client needs to understand this. For example, Bob Windowman knows how to write really well, which means that his book has gotten great reviews. They were so good, in fact, that the library placed the book in the front section of the library, reserved for well-reviewed books. It is placed on the non-fiction section of the shelf. In order to get his website to be more visible, that is, appear on the front page of the search results, Bob McBob needs to convince the search engine that his website is good. Getting linked will convince the search engine to place his website at the top, much how good reviews will convince a library to place a book in a more visible location. Method 4: Using the fishing metaphor. 1. Consider explaining SEO with a fishing metaphor. Not everyone has gone fishing before, but most people understand how fishing works, which can make this metaphor helpful. Compare different parts of SEO to different parts of fishing. 2. Compare content to bait and people to fish. If your client wants to attract lots of people to his or her website, he or she will need lots of content. Similarly, if a fisherman wants to catch a lot of fish, he will need a lot of bait. If he does not have a lot of bait, he will not catch a lot of fish. Content will include things like titles, paragraphs, product descriptions, summaries, basically anything that is written. Images, pictures, videos, and any other media content. Links and multiple pages. 3. Compare keywords to the quality of the bait. The better content your client's website is, the more visitors he or she will receive. Similarly, the better quality bait a fisherman has, the more fish he will catch. 4. Compare your client's target audience to specific fish. When going fishing, the type of fish the fisherman is trying to catch will determine where he will go fishing and what bait he will use. For example, a fisherman looking to catch tuna will not go to a river or lake, he will go to the ocean. Similarly, your client needs to know where to find his target audience and advertise there. For example, if your client is a car repairman specializing in antique cars, he won't find much traffic in websites centered around women's makeup, hair, and nails. He would want to advertise in a local newspaper instead, or websites selling antique cars. 5. Compare where your client advertises to fishing spots. Fishermen know where to cast their fishing line, and your client should know where to advertise his or her website. A fisherman cannot catch fish without physically being at the lake, river, or ocean. Once there, he cannot catch a fish at the other end of the river, or the other side of the lake. Fishing rods can only cast so far, and attempting to do so may result in a tangled fishing line. Similarly, your client should try to target local clients instead. For example, there are lots of people who specialize in painting houses. If your client tries to target a general audience, his website will get lost amongst the other websites. Instead, your client should try to target clients in his town, city, or suburb. 6. Compare your client's desired audience to a fisherman's desired fish. A fisherman going fishing for tuna will not be looking to catch other fish. He wants only tuna, and gets a special fishing pole, a large boat, and special bait in order to catch lots of tuna. Similarly, your client needs to know his or her audience, and create a website that is popular with that sort of audience. For example, if your client's website is targeted towards teenagers, he or she will want to use more color and images. He or she will also have to consider language. Something written using short, upbeat, and catchy sentences is more likely to keep a teenager's attention than long, rambling paragraphs, filled with complex, overly descriptive sentences. Method 5. Using scenarios, illustrations, and other examples. 1. Make familiar comparisons. Another great way to convey new information to someone is to compare it to something he or she is familiar with. Find out what your client does or is interested in, and compare SEO to that. For example, if your client is the manager of a lakeside hotel resort, then compare SEO to the hotel business. In this case, you could compare good reviews to good links, authority, and the things the hotel has to offer, such as a sauna and a lakeside view, to a website's content and keywords. 2. Consider using illustrations while explaining SEO. Some people are visual learners, and may require some sort of illustration, such as a chart or diagram, to help understand things. For example, if you are explaining the different aspects of SEO, consider drawing a circle on a piece of paper, and labeling it with that aspect. Then, move your pen, pencil, or finger over each bubble as you talk about it. You could also consider drawing a comic where Person A asks Person B questions about how SEO works, and Person A answers them. 3. Consider using a physical example. If you are meeting your client in person, open up a search engine and type in the terms one would use to find his or her website. For example, if your client is a residential architect, specializing in exterior design, type the words residential architect exterior design followed by the city name. If your client's website does not show up on the first page, but his or her competitors does, he or she might then realize the importance of SEO. Tips. If your client starts to look lost or confused, stop and try something else. Use another technique, allow them to ask questions, suggest a 5-minute break. Show, don't tell. Instead of just giving your client the dictionary definition of SEO, show your client what it does through illustrations and analogies. Consider including some data and numbers in your explanation. Show your client how many hits a website gets without. Then show your client how many hits a website gets with an SEO. You do not have to give an entire lecture on SEO to your client. He or she has to understand enough to realize how beneficial it will be and agree to the service. He or she does not have to understand how to actually optimize his or her site for search engines, as that will be your job. Warnings. Just because you successfully explain SEO to your client does not mean that you will also convince your client to use it. You may have to try several different methods before you find one that works for your client. If you try one and it does not work, do not get frustrated and do not give up. Try the next one or something completely different. If verbally explaining something to your client did not work, try giving him or her a written explanation. If neither of those worked, illustrate SEO using a series of charts, diagrams, and/or comics.